5 inventions that changed the world. The world is ever-changing, there's no question about it. With more things being discovered and created on a day-to-day basis, humanity continues to get stronger and stronger, albeit with a few setbacks such as pollution. However, there are certain inventions that have helped forge the path for humanity that we'll be focusing on in this video. Now, yes, inventions such as the television and the camera are truly incredible. However, we're going to focus on the inventions that have helped to actually forge the world that we know today. So, here are 5 inventions that have changed the whole world.
5.
The wheel. When it comes to revolutionary discoveries, you simply can't forget to mention the wheel. Without it, we would still probably be stuck in the Stone Age. The wheel was one of many inventions discovered and created by cavemen, along with such items as stone axes, medicinal herbs, and even the discovery of fire. However, it's pretty safe to say that the wheel, and possibly the discovery of fire, altered the face of the earth. Now, the invention of the wheel couldn't have been a mistake, but instead came to be through observation and use of the human mind. Transporting goods from one place to another just by pushing or pulling them seemed to be a tiring and difficult task. So cavemen did something that they probably didn't do prior to this. They actually came up with an alternative by using their minds. I know, crazy, right? Well, these cavemen observed the structure of trees and tried making such circular things on which they could balance a plate and could keep their goods on them for the purpose of transportation. After this, life became much easier and much less cumbersome for them. Because of this discovery, over time, humanity started to use their minds more and more to solve problems, leading up to where we are today. Quite crazy to think, right?
4.
Concrete. No question about it, concrete is one of the most widely used man-made materials in existence. It's a composite material made up of rough composite bonded together with a fluid cement which hardens over a short space of time, depending on how the mix was made. The most popular concretes used are asphalt concrete for roads, lime-based, and polymer concretes. Earlier, limestone was used as a crude cement. As the materials and combinations improved, modern concrete was invented. One of the key ingredients of concrete is cement. The foundation to cement was laid in 1300 BC. Middle Eastern builders coated the outside of their clay fortresses with a thin, moist, burned limestone, which chemically reacted with gases in the air to form a hard, protective surface. Sometime around 6500 BC, the first concrete-like structures were built by the Nabatean traders, or Bedouins in the southern Syria and northern Jordan regions. The foundation to cement was laid in 1300 BC. Middle Eastern builders coated the outside of their clay fortresses with a thin and moist burned limestone, which chemically reacted with gases in the air to form a hard, protective surface. Sometime around 6500 BC, the first concrete-like structures were built by the Nabatea traders or Bedouins in the southern Syria and northern Jordan regions. In 1824, the most used Portland cement was invented by Joseph Aspdin of England. George Bartholomew had laid down the first concrete street in the United States in 1891, which still exists. By the end of the 19th century, the use of steel-reinforced concrete was developed. By the time the 1900s arrived, the use of steel-reinforced concrete became widely popular across the world. Auguste Perret designed and built an apartment building in Paris, building a wide admiration and popularity for concrete and also influencing the development of reinforced concrete. In 1921, Eugene Freycinet pioneered the use of reinforced concrete construction by building 2 colossal parabolic arched airship hangars at Orly Airport in Paris. Needless to say, our world would be drastically different without concrete. Would it be a better place? Well, we'll leave that for you to decide.
3.
Steam engine. Transportation of heavy goods back in the day must have been a nightmare before the steam engine was invented. This idea first came in the mind of James Watt, who spent a lot of his time thinking about how to put steam to practical use in daily life. He found steam to be a powerful fuel for the locomotive, and after the blueprints were made, Watt put even more effort into discovering the important invention of the steam engine, which essentially changed the way we live and remained a method of cheap transportation for hundreds of years after its first conception.
2.
the light bulb and electricity. Times were kind of bleak without light bulbs. Relying on natural light meant that your work hours were essentially limited, and the use of candlelight was something of a hazard back in those times, what with them getting blown out by the slightest wind or being knocked over and causing fires. But thanks to the invention of light bulbs, the world was essentially changed by allowing us to be much more active at night. According to historians, 24 people were instrumental in inventing incandescent lamps throughout the 1800s. The person who is credited as the primary inventor of the light bulb was none other than Thomas Edison, as he created a completely functional lighting system, including a generator and wiring, as well as a carbon filament bulb. Thanks to this invention, we're no longer living in darkness, and we can be more productive during the later hours of the day. Now, we can't mention the light bulb without mentioning electricity. We know it's kind of cheating having two things in one spot here, but they both link to each other. The ability to harness this energy source was first discovered by Benjamin Franklin in 1759, after conducting an experiment where he would fly a kite out in a thunderstorm. After a previous attempted experiment that utilized conductive rods killed the scientist George Wilhelm Richmond in the process, Franklin realized the dangers of using conductive rods and instead used the conductivity of a wet hemp string attached to a kite. By using wet hemp string, he was able to stay on the ground and the kite was less likely to electrocute him. According to the account, Franklin kept the string of the kite dry at his son's end to insulate him, while he was allowed to get wet in the rain to provide conductivity. A house key belonging to Benjamin Locksley was attached to the hemp string and connected to a Leyden jar. A silk string was attached to this, held by Franklin's son William, who flew the kite while standing inside a doorway to keep himself and the silk string dry. Franklin assumed that the Leyden jar would accumulate electricity from the lightning. The kite was not struck by visible lightning. Had it done so, Franklin would almost certainly have been killed. However, Franklin did notice that loose threads of the kite string were repelling each other, and he deduced that the Leyden jar was being charged. He moved his hand near the key and observed an electric spark, proving the electric nature of lightning.
1,
Antibiotics. Despite being a big breakthrough in modern medicine, antibiotics are quite an overlooked invention. Antibiotics directly kill and inhibit the growth of harmful bacteria, and they have saved millions of lives since their first discovery. Its discoverers, Louis Pasteur and Robert Koch, first discovered the antibiosis, the phenomena of antibiotic drug, in 1877. In 1928, Alexander Fleming took the first leap in antibiotics by identifying penicillin, the chemical compound with antibiotic properties. Throughout the remainder of the 20th century, antibiotics spread rapidly and proved to be a major improvement over pre-existing medicines, as not only were they more effective than previously used medicines, but they were also universal with a variety of different viruses, as they are used for fighting nearly every known form of infection to this day.